Hello, everybody. Super excited to have you here today with our guest speaker, Phil Venables. Phil is the Chief Information Security Officer, or CISO, of Google Cloud. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate it for sure. You've been in this industry for a while. You've had CISO positions at Deutsche Bank, at Goldman. I think you joined GCP back in 2020. How have you seen this industry evolve over the career?
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. So if you go back long enough, and again, it doesn't feel like such a long time, but when you add it up, it is. The interesting thing is, clearly what everybody will realize is the threat has evolved significantly over the past few decades, both in number and sophistication, but also the attack surface. In the past 2 decades, we've kind of wired the planet up, everything's connected, and so there's a bigger attack surface for the threats to play against. And plus, because we've wired everything together, when an event happens, we feel the impact of it even more, and that certainly kind of exacerbates year on year. The other thing I think is interesting is, when I first started doing cybersecurity, and we kind of never even called it that then, it was very much an engineering discipline. There was very few products. You had to build a lot of your own things. You had to build things from scratch, maybe assemble some tools together. And then there was an evolution over a decade or so where you were like a systems integrator integrating products. And that's still the case today, but I think we've actually gone full circle back into security teams needing to do a lot more engineering. A big success criteria is how much they can integrate tools, customize tools, build their own tools, integrate with development teams. And so in that respect, we've not only seen an increased threat, increased criticality of what we do, but we've also come full circle that leading security teams have a tremendous data analytics and engineering capability, just like they had to do when they first started a couple of decades ago.
Yeah, no, understood for sure. I mean, the speed of the attack is certainly a lot faster than it was a couple of decades ago as well. According to the recent Verizon report, over 90% of breaches have valid credentials. And that's another aspect to consider in all of this, right? Is in addition to adversaries coming in from all those different attack angles that you spoke about, it's becoming very common now that companies have to defend against breaches where the adversary is coming in with valid credentials, either malicious or just from a mistake that someone made inside the organization. So how do you see the cyber industry kind of pivoting towards this? Do you think that we're prepared for these type of attacks? And how do you see the cyber industry pivoting?
Well, I think it's great when you see the amount of organizations that are shifting away from weak forms of authentication, not just passwords, but for things that are kind of still prone to phishing. So a big move to phishing resistant tokens like FIDO U2F tokens and other things is great, but it's not 100% panacea. So one of the things you already see is attackers shifting from the mode of assuming that there's weak authentication to now starting to think about how to attack post-authentication by stealing session cookies and doing other types of compromises. Now, as an industry, we're all doing things to try and mitigate those risks, but there's still risk. But this really does point to, even if you've got what you believe is a strong set of authentication, a continued need to monitor for compromise, look for suspicious activity, to instrument your environment to look for post-authentication suspicious activity, even if you do have high confidence on the front end of your authentication. So again, it's a never-ending cycle that we need to do prevention, but we're still always going to have to do detection and response to that detection in balance with the prevention.
Right. Yeah, and those two things shift over time, right? Kind of if too much is on prevention and not enough on detection, it tends to pivot as well. So right. It's interesting. Yep. Kind of taking one of those prevention technologies, like when you look at log management, when you look at the SIEM marketplaces, we have products like Chronicle and Exabeam that are obviously next generation, taking advantage of the cloud, but you've still got over $4 billion of existing install base tied up in on-prem technologies. As crazy as that is, right. 20 years after the SIEM and log management market, started, still have a substantial portion on-prem. Many of the cloud products took the more lift and shift, kind of single tenant approach towards the cloud. How do you see that market evolving? I mean, you just had this massive data influx into cybersecurity in this market of log management and SIEM. Obviously, there's a ton that can be taken advantage of on the cloud. So just how do you see that? How do you see that shifting?
Well, we're in the, I kind of think of this as we're in a golden age of security monitoring in many respects, because you think about how all business processes are now digitized. all of our IT processes have a huge amount of logging and observability built in. And so if you think about this, everything that we do emits like a digital exhaust. And so when you look at the amount of potential information inside any type of organization, and look at what you get from the security sensors that you've deployed, dedicated security sensors, that's a tiny fraction of all of the information you can mine to get interesting security signals out of. Some of your best security signals may come from your service mesh logging, or your container instrumentation, or your application logs, or even some of the business process logic level logs. Bringing that together inside a consistent security analytics platform is an absolutely incredible opportunity. Now, the challenge is, to your point, that's a scale of information and a volume of information that you're going to have to respond to and analyze quickly, that a lot of the traditional security platforms just were never designed and can't comprehend that level of scale, that level of performance that's needed to do that. So again, even though it's potentially a golden age of security monitoring, because the amount of information we can collect and mine for security, it also could be a curse as well, unless you're selecting the right platform that can deal with that scale, that performance requirement, and that kind of analytic load to get the best out of all of that information that you're collecting. It's a really interesting time to be working in this space.
For sure. It definitely feels like a space within cyber that will benefit a ton from not having to delineate between cold and hot storage, having instantaneous search over petabytes of data. I mean, there's obviously lots of benefits that come out of that for sure. In that vein, I mean, today at our event, what we are launching is our new scale SIEM product. And as obviously you've been a great partner to us on, in addition to our IP and all the things we've built, we've taken advantage to really build this cloud native. You know, we are obviously using the BigQuery product, Dataflow, Spanner, Looker. There's many of the GCP products that are inside of this. We're seeing incredible price performance, just the ability to, as you said, kind of attack those petabytes of data and be able to kind of confidently go into customers and be able to handle that large volume. How do you see this type of technology impacting the marketplace?
Well, again, it's kind of building on what we talked about. I mean, it's some of the best security tools are not necessarily just the traditional security products, but again, for this reason of scale. So you look at some of the things that we've built in Google Cloud, and these are all technologies derived from what we do across Google, like solving planet scale data analysis problems. And so all of these technologies, whether it's BigQuery or Spanner or the other technologies, all come out of that scale problem of ingesting huge amounts of information, analyzing it, developing signal from it, and then doing useful things with it. And so the ability to do that with security information, or in fact any other business analytic problem or other problem of risk domains, whether it's fraud or other types of anomaly detection, benefit from that large scale. But what really kind of makes things very, very useful is putting in expert security capability on top of that platform. Yeah. So you get the best of the both worlds. You get the best of the scaling and the performance, and you get the security specific knowledge that a company like Exabeam can bring to layering on top of that. And again, with these type of partnerships, we think customers are going to get the best of both worlds. So they're not limited in scale, they're not limited in performance, but they can bring the security expertise and the knowledge to take advantage of that scale and performance. We think that's just going to be incredible for people.
Yeah, no, we feel it. We feel the same. Well, we appreciate the continued partnership. Thanks for joining us here at Spotlight 2022, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you for your partnership, and we're really excited about what you guys have built, and big congratulations on the launch today. We're really looking forward to see what happens next.
We appreciate it.